I've been sitting at the river and I was playing with this thing, and I would have written this in my journal, but I don't have my journal, and I'm also sitting in the river, so I can't write in a journal anyway. And so I decided that I'm gonna do a journal through a video, and then yeah. So saw this thing floating, and I picked it up, and look at how weird and unlively and nasty and soggy this is right now. This plant, it's just not where it's supposed to be. It's not living well. It's bad. I don't know, it's just not good. Then when you put it where it's supposed to be, in the water, it's super beautiful and full of life, and this is where it's supposed to be, and it excels, and it lives how it's supposed to live in this environment, and people are the same way. When people are in a bad environment that doesn't support them and stops them from thinking and being who they actually are and what they care about, and they're like this thing when it's out of its environment. They're all like knotted up and suffocating, and I don't know, they're all like in a bubble and they're squeezed and they're trapped just like this thing is to itself. And then when they go back into the environment they're supposed to be, they're free, and they're free, and they can excel, and people in positive environments that support them, they do positive things and they support other people, and it works out well, and it's beautiful, and that's how it's supposed to work. That's when people are full of life, just like this thing when it's in the water. But when they're out of it, this thing doesn't look very lively right now, very full of life, but now it does. Yeah. At the moment, I feel like I'm in an environment that lets me live, makes me full of life, and allows me to be what I'm supposed to be in my full capacity. Just like this thing in the water, it's all beautiful and full, and that's how I feel right now. I feel like I'm living my life as best as I can, and I've definitely been in an environment that has not let me done that before, and you don't realize that, like, you're there most of the time, at least in my experience. You can't tell, like, that you're in a place like this if you haven't been in the environment that you're supposed to be in. So you don't miss it until you have learned what it is. And once you learn what it is, it's so great and wonderful. And since getting to an environment that is good for me, I haven't never been pulled out of it, and so I don't know if I'll know when that happens, or if I'll miss being in the water, miss the plant being in the water. And I don't know, to some degree, people are like this plant, and that they have no control over what environment they're in, and that it's just sometimes they're in an environment where they can't do what they need to do, but then sometimes they're put in an environment where they can, and they're encouraged and supported. But at the same time, people definitely do have control over what environment they're in, unlike this plant who was just at the mercy of me playing with it. People can definitely change the environment they're in at some point. Sometimes it's not up to them, but sometimes it definitely is, and that's good. That's a great thing when people can, but people rarely do. I don't know. Maybe people don't see that. People don't understand that maybe you can't tell when you're out of the environment that supports you and encourages you and suffocates you, and when you can't tell when you're in an environment that is bad for you, and so you don't make the moves to change it. And obviously change is hard and scary, and so even when you're in a place that doesn't support you and is bad for you, like, that's still comfortable, and that's because that's still what you know. So it's still scary to try to change yourself, but at the same time, if you do make the step to change, then it'll be really, really, really positive. But you don't. It's hard to know that before you do it, because unlike this plant where it's just in or out of the water, it's very like defined good or bad state. It's not always like that for people, and you can't know before you do it for sure. And I don't know, but the environment you're in totally changes who you are, or changes. It doesn't change who you are, it changes what you do with who you are. You can take advantage of who you are and be who you be. You can like live out who you actually want to be, or you can live as some crumpled up, soggy excuse for a human that isn't living what they're supposed to be living. But it's really, really beautiful that when you do, just like this thing. And yeah, that's journal number 1 for a video. Don't know if this is gonna happen again or not, but I enjoyed it. Peace.